Yes. Hi guys. Thanks for coming. Hope everyone's going all right. We're just about to start a cold snap. Torbjorn, it's almost like Norway here. We're expecting 2 degrees at the end of the week. I think that's the coldest, literally in 60 years of living here, that's the coldest I've ever been it. So much for global warming. It must be really hot on the other side and really cold down here because we're in trouble. Us, Gaza, good to see you. Daniel, thanks for coming. Frederick, us, good to see you from Sweden. This is so cool. Got Gaza from like 10 k's down the road, and then Daniel 500 k's down the road, and then Frederick, Rochelle from Canada. Hey, Janet, us, good to see you. Savitri from Brizzy, Rob from Tassie, us. You know, Paddy, I finally got a chance to watch the interview with Nick, and it was so much fun. He's definitely a lot of fun. I'm just looking for the link even as I'm talking to you, because I did make a link. I might just have to put this link, I think, which is a different one. I'll put that one. That's a link to Paddy Pinto's Shuffle, guys, and he just did his most recent interview was with Nick Pettis, and gosh, it was fun. This might be the proper link here, I think. It was fantastic. It was so much fun. He's a lot of fun to be with. Us. Yeah, we're just experiencing a nice Norwegian summer. That's funny, Torbjörn. Okay, today's going to be a lot of fun, I think, because I'm going to get into, I just had to turn something off there. I'm going to get into having a look at the Seika Tanden. Seika Tanden is Japanese for the single point in the lower abdomen. If anyone's ever done anything like Aikido or so on, you'll be familiar with the Seika Tanden. Okay, that's Seika Tanden. Looks very confusing because this first character here, that's the character for heso, for belly button. So it means Seika, below the belly button, Tanden. Okay, so that's the point or the field. So it kind of literally means the field of focus below the belly button. And it's a really interesting concept because it's not something that we really have in the West. There is an intimate connection, I think. If you want to have a look at that, if you want me to show you how to draw it later, I can do it again. But there is a very intimate connection with the yoga concept of, just fixing this thing up, the yoga concept of what they call the bandhas. And if you've ever had lower back problems, oh my gosh, you need to have a concept of the bandhas. In 1996, I had an accident and I herniated my L5S1 disc. I was off work for 11 months. Urs Paul Knie from Germany, good to see you, man. I was off work for 11 months and they wanted to fuse my discs together. And of course, for a karate person, the last thing in the world you want to let anyone do is touch your spine. So I refused to. So what I did was my good buddy, Scotty Boyd, recommended his yoga teacher, the guy named, it'll come to me in a sec, it was 25 years ago, Jeremy Wallace, Wallis. I don't even know if Jeremy's doing yoga still. Jeremy Wallace, I did 1 hour session, 6 1-hour sessions with him, and he taught me about the bandhas. And he was speaking in a language which is kind of a little weird. He'd get me to go into position and he'd say, okay, here's what I want you to, because I'd herniated my disc, so it was impinging on my sciatic nerve. So I could hardly, sometimes I'd be with you, Chris Dunn, who comes here most days, and we'd be walking along the Queen Street Mall and I'd say, I just have to stop. And I'd have to lie down, and it must have looked like I was a drug addict having a little bit of a flashback or something, but I just have to lie in the middle of the shopping mall, until the pain went away. And this Jeremy Wallace showed me how to do. So he would talk in strange vocabulary. He'd say to me, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to elevate your quadriceps muscles off your femur bone and bring them anti-clockwise around the femur and tuck your hamstrings. I go, what are you talking about? He go, yeah, no, elevate the perineum, take the quadriceps off your bone and rotate. I don't, he said, I know it doesn't make sense, but in your head, that's what I want you to do. And I do it, and he go, yeah, no, not that muscle, that one. Yeah, that's it. And as soon as he say that, it's like, oh my gosh, it was like a tap going off. All right, so this is the power of the bandhas. There are three main bandhas in the body that we talk about. The one at the perineum, one at the diaphragm, and one at the chin. And these are like the three concaves. I actually wrote a little paper. In fact, I might even pass it on to my Patreon crowd. I call it the three locks. You got this concave, the three concaves, I call it. Concave here, the diaphragmatic lock, and the perineum between the legs. If you can get a grasp on how to manipulate those, you will never, ever have a back problem again. And I had that really bad back problem to the point where they wanted to fuse a disc together in '96. And since then, I never had a problem. And in fact, when I went back to the orthopedic surgeon, I had to go back to get another check. And he said, what have you done? He looked at my x-rays. He said, what have you done? I said, what do you mean? He said, and he's looking at the old ones and new ones, and they were like 8 weeks apart. And he goes, what did you do? How did you? I said, I just went to a yoga teacher, and he taught me how to manipulate the spine so that I could. And he said, for crying out loud, don't tell anyone about this. I'd be out of business. I mean, literally, the bulge disc was gone. It was just a little mark that you could see, and it was quite amazing. So the concept of the tanden, Seika Tanden. Seika literally means below the belly button. Usrad, Harry, good to see you. Dipankar, namaste, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming in. The Seika Tanden. I'll write those kanji for you so you can get there you go. They're the kanji. Now, if you're interested in Japanese, that'll give you the Japanese for it if you want to do some research. Seika literally means below the belly button, and tanden, it's kind of like it literally means the reservoir of the mind, sort of thing. And so it's funny because the Japanese culture. Richard, hope you're feeling well. How's that health, and how are all the tests going, Richard? Francine Gravel, mon ami, ça va? Nice to see you all the way from Canada. So the tanden, or the hara in the belly, is very much a part of Japanese culture. And for example, in Japanese, you say hara ga tatsu, hara ga tatsu, hara ga tatsu ne, which means my hara, my belly is standing up, and that means I'm angry. Okay, but if you say hara ga suwaru, which means my belly is sitting down, what that means is I'm being resolved, so I'm settled. So when your belly stands up, you're angry. When your belly sits down, you're settled and resolved. This is how important this whole concept of the tanden is in Japanese culture, and it's really, really important in Japanese martial arts, but it's really minimized. You know, because you can go an entire career, especially if your objective is fight training, you can go a whole career and never even mention the word, because you just do your bag work, do your skipping, do your rounds. But if you want to understand the difference between a sport and a martial art, you have to understand the concept of the Seika Tanden, or the tanden. Okay, so I've made a few notes, and I think it's really interesting. It all ties in, and constantly I have to keep coming back to. There's so many notes that when I start to prepare, I'll start to put notes down, and then in the middle of the night, I'll suddenly remember something, and then finally I'll put them all together. And so sometimes I'm a little bit kind of embarrassed about having to read these notes, but you know, these notes are really valuable to me. I try to remember as much as I can. But one thing that I always find is interesting is Sosai once said that the Kyokushin warm-up is not about the muscles, it's about the bones and joints. Now, I find that kind of interesting. In Japanese, we don't say warm up. We say junbi, which is like a preparation. You know, it's like you're not really warming up the muscles. They get warmed up as well, but it's more about aligning the connective tissue, the fascia, the joints and everything, getting everything aligned. So, when you start to train with the concept of the tanden, okay, the hara, then what happens is it's not so much getting strength from the muscles as setting a solidity from the frame, if that makes sense. Okay, it's a strength from the bones and the structure more than the muscles and the supporting muscles. Okay, it's about that structural integrity more than muscular tension. Okay, so there are different ways that we can work on that, and I just want to run through a few with you today, because really it really is a matter of just trying to get a hang of it through your own training. Okay, and you've got to remember too that if you're a sports fighter, you can just do your rounds and you do your sparring and you do your conditioning, and that's really, really important, and you can win, you can go all the way. But karate primarily, martial arts primarily, is not about becoming a fighting champion, as you know. It's about polishing the soul. There's that wonderful line in the book Musashi, where Musashi walks into a town and he wants to get his sword attended to because he just had a duel, and he sees a sign and it says "Souls polished," and he went in, and it was a sword polisher. Okay, and the blade to the sword, to the samurai, is his soul. Well, in karate, our body as a weapon is the same. And so what we're really doing in training is, through the techniques of training in karate, we're polishing our souls. And Sosai said he'd rather have a dojo full of high quality human beings with average technique than high quality technique with average quality personalities, because you can always fix the technique. But if you're a 40 or a 50 or a 60-year-old man and your attitude's not right, it's going to be a heck of a time trying to change it by that stage. That sort of thing should be done in the first 25 years of your life. By the time you're 25, you should have things sorted out. And life throws things in our way. We're reborn with all these, what they call skandhas and the karma and so on. So sometimes it's not that easy. It takes more than 25 years. But what I'm getting at is that karate is about polishing the soul. You want any instructor. There's this collection here today is all about training, and there are so many people of us here today who run dojos, and I guarantee every single one of you will agree with me that there's nothing like having good, solid fighting champions. But if that means it's the expense of having high quality personalities in the dojo, well, then you'll give it away every day. I know I will. The body work as a unit, and when working one, you indirectly work. Well, that's true. That's a Shingi Tai concept. So remember Shingi Tai, Shin the mind or spirit, Gi the technique, Tai the body, the three stool legs, and you can't train one without the other. But they support each other in a circle. Good strong body allows for good technique. Good technique will develop and promote courage and a strong mind, and a good strong mind will support the activity of a strong body. So that's true. Right, my teacher used to say that coincidentally the tanden is almost the same as the location of the center of gravity. Good pointer there. Well, that's true, and I think I was getting to that. You're right, Rod, that the tanden, the Seika Tanden, actually coincides. If your teacher says that is almost the same, well, he know, and it's not. Well, he knows something I don't. But I'd always been taught and grown up through the martial arts with the idea that the tanden was coincidentally the site of the physical center of balance. Yes, that's true. We're polishing our own life sword. That's true. So I think to develop the tanden, there's just different principles that you can have. And the first one is the idea of letting gravity go underside. Okay? have your weight underside, and that's really good for meditation. It's also good when we stretch. When we're stretching, I'm always saying, let gravity do the work. Take a breath, and then let the weight go underside. Okay, and then another really simple thing to do to make it work is you focus your attention at the point below the belly button. Slightly lower. Look, I've never heard that there's any difference for women, Rudd, to be quite honest. The center of gravity, I'd say, would be slightly lower for women simply because of the structure of the body. They have narrower shoulders and broader hips than men because of the shape of the pelvic bone. So that makes sense. I would say that it might be slightly lower, but probably so slight that it's not worth really trying to nitpick over it. It is slightly lower. You know, that's why women in general will find sit-ups easier than push-ups, and men in general find push-ups easier than sit-ups, because men have that upper body strength, women have the lower body strength. So you're probably right, there'd be a slight difference, but I think let's say we're an instructor teaching, well, that slight difference probably isn't worth entertaining because it's just too difficult to get onto. Okay, so the first thing you can look at is keeping the weight underside. The second thing you can do is focus your awareness at the point in the lower abdomen. So whenever you do any techniques, and today we'll do a few techniques where the focus is on not so much the technique, but the focus at the point in the lower abdomen. Okay, then the next thing is what Sosai used to say. Sosai's way of getting people to focus at the abdomen, at the hara, was waki o shimeru, waki o shimete, which means close your armpits. Okay, because as soon as you put tension up here in the shoulders, that center of gravity lifts up. Okay, and Sosai used to say waki o shimete. Okay, so, and then the next thing is what I call sturdiness. Okay, now for me, sturdiness is a somatic. Generally, we have 4 somatics. Okay, somatic being physical properties. The first somatic is strength, second one speed, third one cardiovascular endurance, and fourth is flexibility, or I call them all S's. So we have strength, speed, suppleness, and stamina. Okay, the fifth one I call sturdiness. And in karate, sturdiness begins with your awareness of the tanden in the structure of the bone structure of the body. And then sturdiness then develops. You have this, when you have a deep awareness of the tanden, and I think sometimes it happens unconsciously. If someone says, brace up, I'm about to punch you in the belly. It's like you don't only harden the muscles of your belly, you also brace up the structure of your bones, your stance, your digging, your toes and everything. So all the time, and this is why I was saying the other day, it's so important to get an understanding, a fundamental understanding of the yoi stance, because that's the first thing we do. Okay, it's being prepared, and as you, that's a really good place for you to go. Now I'm putting my consciousness down at the hara. Okay, so that's why the Kyokushin warm-up is more about the bones. It's more about the joints and the structure, not just the muscles. Okay, and that's in Japanese. We don't say warm-up. We say junbi, okay, which is like a preparation. It's a setup of everything to come. Herman, what's your view on hip health? A lot of karateka need replacements later in life. Okay, good question, Herman. I'll tell you why I think it's good, because I think it's an area that's not addressed. And I think, first of all, one of the things that really matters is, that's why I always say you grab a stretch, okay? The gaze alignment, where are we? Gaze, relaxation, alignment, and breathing, okay? And the gaze and alignment are a real problem in Kyokushin, because we're not really taught very well how to align the joints when we stretch. I think that's one of the reasons why we see a lot of people have joint replacements. That's one of the reasons. Another reason is the impact involved. Okay, when you're kicking people hard, that impacts. Another reason is bad use of training equipment. So when anyone joins our dojo, the first thing they have to do before they're allowed to touch any kick pads or anything is they have to learn how to hold it with a viewpoint to joint integrity. They have to, you can hold a pad wrongly, and in 10 years you'll be having knee and hip problems simply because you never taught how to hold the pad properly. So it's really important that you always hold the pad with the correct joint alignment. The other thing, which I think, so I swear someday someone can write a paper about it and it'll change the way people train. The other thing is jigsaw mats. With the introduction of jigsaw mats, previously karate was never done on mats. It was always done on a wooden floor. And when you do it on a wooden floor, your foot moves very smoothly over the floor. So when you throw a kick, your supporting leg has no friction on the floor. So it has no restriction to the movement. And so that protects the knees. But with the jigsaw mats, kicking on softer mats, what happens is as you kick, your weight goes in, and instead of the foot turning easily on the wood, it bites in and it can't turn. So what happens is the knee takes the turn and the hip takes the turn. And so this is, I think one day someone will do a paper and they'll find an incredibly high correlation between ankle, knee, and joint injuries and the introduction of jigsaw mats into training. Having said that, I use jigsaw mats. You've got to change the way you train. I've been sitting in Seika the whole time, so I'm going to get up a little slow here. But for example, my legs are asleep. So, for example, I think I check out my T-shirt today. Kylie Baker in Melbourne at the Musubi Dojo. How cool is this T-shirt? And look at the back. Can you see the back? So this is a shout out to Kylie Baker from Melbourne. This is my favorite T-shirt right now. Okay, so when you train, for example, I'm going to turn this down. Okay, so if you use jigsaw mats and you stand here like this doing the kicks, and I lift my knee to kick and my foot is straight, and then I throw the kick. On a wooden floor, your foot will naturally turn smoothly without restriction. On a jigsaw, my legs are starting to come back, so the blood's starting to run through. So now I'm starting to feel a little bit unstable because I've been sitting in Seika for the last 20 minutes. So when you kick on jigsaw mats, one of the best ways that Herman, and this is good for Herman's question, one of the best ways to protect your hips is don't kick from here and try and turn the foot. What you do, I get my students when they're on jigsaw mats to almost turn into a ballet dancer. So when you're throwing roundhouse kicks now, that angle is already there. See, that angle is already there. So it takes the pressure off the hips, okay? And the last thing anyone ever wants to do is use those hip replacements and things like that as kind of a sign, like wearing a medal. I know that there are some cultures where you get into a fight and you break your hand, you wrap your hand in and it's like, yeah, I'm a tough guy because I've got this bandage on. Don't want to do that with hip and joints. Okay, don't be proud of the fact that you're having a hip replacement and treat it as a sign that you've been training hard. It's got nothing to do with training hard. Also, I didn't have a hip replacement. He had a sore knee. He had a bad knee, but not hip replacement because of the alignment. Okay, so it's not so much structure. Muscular tension that we need to work on when we're working with the hara. What we're looking for is structural firmness. Okay, you drop your weight, you concentrate your weight. There's a little degree of tension, but the tension drops and it becomes a matter of structural firmness. And I guess one of the ways to do it is you always bring your mind to the hara. That's one of the easiest ways to start to introduce yourself to the hara training, is bring your mind to that hara. Okay, so I think, for example, in Chudanski, okay, when you work Chudanski, and particularly if you work makiwara, I don't have a link to it, but I've got that video on YouTube about the makiwara training, and if I I don't know if I got the link there, but anyway, there's a video. Go to my YouTube channel and type in Makiwara training. Usha, no worries. Go to and look up that Makiwara training, and I talk about that in the Makiwara training. The Makiwara training for me has a lot to do, even though I don't talk about the Tanden so much, maybe once or twice I mention it, but Makiwara training is all about getting that connection through the Tanden, okay? And I call it Tanden flow. Sosai used to say the power of the punch starts from the feet through the Tanden, okay? From the Tanden to the lat, which pulls the arm in, so that relaxes the waki, from the lat to the elbow, and out the hand. But here's the key I mentioned last week, I'm sure. Even though we hit with Seiken, the body weight is concentrated behind the ring finger, okay? And when you get a feel of the Tanden, that really makes a lot of sense. And I've worked on that whenever I do Makiwara. I remember what Sosai said about concentrating the body weight behind the ring finger. Now, this amazes me when Sosai talks about it, and I've been talking to Rochelle about it, and I've nearly got an answer for you, Rochelle, because I'm going through that business. But when you do koken, okay, quite often koken is demonstrated like this, okay, with the thumb here. Even in Sosai's books, in his early books, he says put the thumb. Sometimes the photos have the thumb here, but he'll say put the thumb at the tip of the middle finger. But Sosai later on in his direct training at Hombu taught that when you do tate koken, or the koken up, the thumb is on the tip of the ring finger. See that? When you go yoko uchi koken, from inside out, just like uchi uke, uchi koken, okay? The thumb is on the tip of the middle finger. Now, you have to have trained to come to that conclusion. You can't come to the conclusion that it's tip of the ring finger here, tip of the middle finger there, body weight is, even though you're hitting here, it's the body weight is constant. You don't come to those amazing conclusions without having trained and having put it into action. And this is why my next session, I think you're going to really enjoy. I'm going to talk about the difference between techniques that we use in tournaments versus techniques you use in the street. And, you know, a lot of those street techniques don't apply in tournaments because they're just not allowed. But, you know, the whole thing about Sosai using koken, knife hand, tetsui, palm heel, okay, even ridge hand to a degree. Ridge hand turned over becomes koken, okay? So using the tetsui, the palm heel, the concussive palm heel, the tetsui, the bottom fist, the knife hand this way, uchi uchi. These techniques are really, really powerful in self-defense because they come out of nowhere. And the only thing, from my experience, the only thing you have to be aware of when you're doing those techniques is someone who bridges the gap, closes the gap from range 4 hand strike into range 2 hand strike into range 4. Because once their head is on your chest and once they are starting to claim your balance, then these things don't work anymore. Sometimes that'll work, sometimes that'll work. But I'm getting off target. I'll be talking more about that on Wednesday. Okay, so that Tanden flow that Sosai talked about, from the feet through the legs. And the big thing about Japanese martial arts is there's so much predominance on training the hara, the hips, the legs. Okay. I was listening to Nick's interview there with Paddy, and he talked about doing 5 sets of 50 push-ups, and that's true. And I was suggesting we do the 5 sets of 50 push-ups, and then we go outside and we do squat kicks and zako geri, which means the kicks from a squatting position, and bunny hops and all that sort of stuff. So it was all, and Sosai turn up one day and he go, yeah, more bunny hops. So it was all about lower leg conditioning, and you've only got to look at guys like Kazumi and Matsui and people like that, and look at the power in their legs, and you realize how they've trained their legs. Okay, so if you understand the Tanden the way I'm at least trying to explain it, then you'll see the Tanden in terms of its connection to the lower body, the structural integrity through the bones, and the concept that explosiveness, whenever you have explosiveness, you know, in Japanese they say put your hara into it, you know, and we even use the term guts, you know, come on, show us, you know, have some guts, you know, boy, he's a gutsy fighter, this sort of thing, you know. Well, that's a similar sort of concept. So what we're going to do, just a little bit of, I'm going to do a warm-up. I've even divided the deck into 4. I did the deck this morning, so forgive me if I'm a little slow, but I've divided the deck into 4 already, and I haven't set it up or anything, but I'm just going to take 1/4 deck off because I've got training at 5 as well, and I'll do the rest of it again. So I'm going to do the deck twice today. But anyway, Shah says, John Bloom is strongly able to get the use of Jordan short there, more shoots. Oh, man. Look, anyone who's got half a brain and who's been in a situation in the street, when you understand how effective using those techniques can be. But we'll get into that on Wednesday, I think. Okay. So like I was saying, the reason we train in Zenkutsudachi, Kokutsudachi, Kibadachi, the 3 big ones, more than we train in Kumite-dachi, is because of the hara and because of the importance of structural integrity and the lower body. Okay, so that's the difference between a martial art and a fighting sport. If you're just like Tyrone Tongia, my good friend, and he was an Australian professional boxing champion. When I trained him, I had the honor of training him. We never used Zenkutsudachi or Kokutsudachi or anything. We'd be in his fighting stance. It was like skipping. We do skipping, road work, bag work, mitt work, all the, you know, it was a sport. It was a fighting sport. In martial arts, we use those stances not because those stances are something we're going to fight from, but because they're training stances. We use them as a traditional art. We use those stances to help us with our training in those to train the hara. Okay, so with those points in mind, I think you'll realize that as you move in all the different stances, the fundamental core structure of the Tanden, the hara, and the awareness at the single point remains unchanged. So that's why it's not a difficult concept. It's like meditation. The techniques of meditation are so simple, anyone can do it. But the actual being able to actually meditate, probably you're talking about less than 1% of the human race has the ability to meditate properly for more than an hour. Okay, because we just don't have that habit of concentration at a single point. Well, it's the same with the hara, and in Zen, actually, that's a good point to remember, that the Indian style meditation techniques don't concentrate at the hara. They concentrate either at the heart center or up here at the third eye. Whereas the Japanese Zen style, they concentrate at the hara. Aikido meditation concentrates at the hara. Zen meditation concentrates at the hara. And the way they breathe is upside down too. That's a different story. That's another day. But so the awareness of the single point in the lower abdomen is really, really vital and central. And once you get that balance between the using the lower body and the strong stances in training with that deep, unswerving focus on the tanden, I cross my heart, you'll see a measurable change in your training. Okay. Even though the techniques that you're using all the time are differing, the different stances, the different techniques, they all center around the hara, this awareness of the hara. And this is why slow motion training, I'm always talking about, you know, I use that I think it's an old Greek quote, slow as smooth, smooth as fast. Matt Damon or Mark Wahlberg made it famous in The Shooter, the movie The Shooter, which is one of my favorite movies. Okay, slow as smooth, smooth as fast. And the reason that slow motion training is so important is because that external technique, whether it's the punch, the block, okay, it's a kick, whatever it is, that external technique balances with the internal awareness at the hara, okay? And that's where the real value of that hara training comes in. So, And if you're, they talk in Japanese, they have a word chikara. Chikara just means strength. Okay. Even Judd, Judd Reed's dojo, he calls it the Chikara Dojo. It's a very cool name. Okay. And that means strength. And in Japanese, they say the chikara comes from the hara. Okay. So if once you get that slow motion training and that external technique of slow motion training combined with the internal mental focus at the hara through the long stances, then you transfer it to your kumite dachi. But if you go into kumite dachi and doing kumite too early, too fast, what happens is you never get a feel of that hara, and so things are a little bit different. Us, Mike, good to see you. Well, you've got to give credit to anyone who drives an hour and a half to get to the dojo, but I'm glad you could make it anyway. Us. Okay, so, and I always, look, I'm being long-winded. We're talking 35. We're not going to be doing much training, but I hope you're getting something out of this. Let me, we'll do a bit of a warm-up. We'll do some cards, and then we're going to focus on some movements, nice movements, trying to feel that hara. And I always use it, the body electric. You talk about Walt Whitman's poetry. He has that line in his poetry. I dance the body electric. I celebrate the body electric. Okay, so the body is an electrical system. I have a friend, Anita Goel, amazing girl. She was voted by MIT as one of the 30 great minds under 30 in the world. And she was telling me that she was doing research. She was a physicist, a MIT trained physicist, and she wanted to do research into the physics of energy movement in the body. Check this out. I sat there listening to her have a conversation with another friend who's like this amazing mathematician, and I, sat there for 3 hours listening. I think I understood about 1% of what they said, but she was saying she wanted to research physics in the human body. So she realized she needed to know more about the human body. So she went back and did her medical degree at Harvard Medical School. Check that out. So she's a physician who's also a physicist. And she was saying that her concept was she understood that the energy entered in the body. And then that electrical energy at somewhere converted into mechanical energy. And in other words, the electrical energy in the nerves converted into mechanical energy in movement. And that was her focus of research. And she said, and I said, how you going? She said, we think we've got it. I haven't heard much more about that. She said, we think we have it, where the human energy system goes from converting that energy that comes into the body, converts to electrical energy, and then converts to mechanical energy. We think it is happening at the DNA level. I mean, this is just like crazy stuff. For the Japanese, everything channels through the hara. Okay, so that's like covering an awful lot of stuff there, but treat it like, I wanted to mention Anita in a research because the energy in the body is like electricity. Okay, now right here, as I'm talking, I've got my computer, I've got a light here, light there, my watch, my clock's here, the lights are on. All those are electrically driven. So I'm not about to go and turn the plug off. Okay, even though they're all different types of electricity. If I was to plug the treadmill in, if I was to plug the bike ergometer, all these things come from the single source. You don't want to unplug the source of electricity. Well, in Japanese, we talk about the electricity being channeling through the hara in the body. And I think that's really, really valuable to think about all the time. So with that, I'm just going to work on the idea that nothing is arbitrary. Okay, you even when you have an awareness, this will sound weird too, but when you have an awareness of the hara and you settle your consciousness, then everything becomes important. So this is why, for example, in my dojo after training, we get a bucket and rags and we put disinfectant and we clean the floor. We sweep up. And I had a friend come who is a very high, like world-class level BJJ, no-gi grappler, part of the Danaher Death Squad, if that means anything to you. And he came and he said one of the things that he found really, really impressive was how the students at the end of training, without even being asked, things would get dusted, clean, the front of the dojo get clean, to be swept up, everything be swept, and we'd clean the dojo. And this is because nothing is arbitrary. You know, injuries occur when you focus poorly, when you lose concentration. You know, that's really, at the end of the day, if you think about it, most injuries are ego-driven because you lose the clarity of your concentration. Okay. The joys of Soji. Yeah, but I mean, look, doesn't that make it, though? I mean, this is what really develops the character in the dojo. And if Solsai says that all the training we do is about character development, well, we need that Soji. Soji is Japanese for cleaning, by the way, if those people aren't sure. So character, and I talk about character. I have my above the line, below the line thing. I'm going to do a paper on that for, in fact, in June. One of the things I'm doing for the Patreon group is my paper on character and what it means to be above the line, below the line. And character is nothing more than the ability to keep a promise to yourself after the pressure and heat and enthusiasm of making that promise has passed, okay? So the Soji literally means, means cleaning, as Mike Clark mentioned, Soji. But what it is simply being aware of the sacredness of the dojo, being aware of the sacredness of your gi, why you need to have a clean gi, why you need to have a clean body, clean nails, short nails, clean yourself. There's nothing worse than training with someone who's dirty, okay? That cleanliness is a part of your character and awareness, okay? And especially when you're training by yourself, because in personal training, it's very easy to let go of all those things because no one else is around. Okay, so look, I've talked enough. That's 40 minutes of talking. And except for that 1 minute where I stood up, I've been sitting in Seiza the whole time. So my legs are really, really a little, I'm going to have to get up carefully here. My left leg is asleep altogether. But I've got a quarter of a deck. I have a quarter of a deck. We're going to do a little bit of a warm-up and a stretch and a quarter of a deck. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time on the hara. And by the way, my hara is more developed right now than it's ever been in my life. Okay, but I'm going to get rid of that. I promise. That's my goal for the next 3 months, is I'm going to deal with that hara in the physical sense. Okay, so I'm going to... Here's a chance to get my legs back. Different cards, quarter only. Good. So from this point on, think of hara. Think of the single point below the belly button, about 3 fingers below the belly button, in there. And if you want to think of it in terms of the spine, that's even better, okay? Because the spiritual hara is in the spiritual spine, okay? My legs are tingling now, so I think I need to move. Let's do a little bit of a warm-up. Ich, ni, san, chi, hanta, ich, ni, san, chi. Squatting. Ich, ni, san, chi, ni, san, chi. San, ni, san, chi. Double shoulder width. Ich, ni, san, chi, do, ich, hach, ku, and ju. Middle. Ich, ni, san, ni, san. Here, let gravity do the work. So remember, one of the key points to feeling the hara is let your body weight go underside. So don't tense up and feel the muscles on top. Tense down, relax down, and feel the weight underside. Okay, so here, let the weight pull you down. It's ni, san, ni, san, san, ni, san. Okay, 3 count. And it's nice and relaxed. Here, arms on the inside. Open out, take a breath, and drop the breath to the hara. Breathe in, drop it to the hara, and notice how your body now goes down and underside. It's an interesting thing. I trained with an Aikido teacher named Tohei Koichi once for about a week. He was my hero when I was a teenager. And he said to me that if you concentrate your body underside, your concentration will automatically be at the hara. And if you concentrate your focus at the hara, your weight will automatically be underside. I think that's really interesting. Turn. Hip flex up, pushing forward. My feet are starting to wake up again now. Push forward, open. And sun. Right around here. Again, breathe in. Okay, now as you bring the consciousness to the lower point, let the weight go underside. Relax down underside. So by underside, I mean let the weight of the arm be focused underneath the arm. Let the weight of the leg be focused underneath the leg. Knee. I really have a lot of faith in this stuff that I'm sharing with you. So I hope you get something out of it, because if you're a karate teacher, this is really valuable to pass on to your students. Breathe in. Concentration down to the hara. Weight goes underside. Feel your body relax down and let gravity do the work. Okay, it's like a dead weight principle. And around. Pushing the hips forward and up. And sun. Okay, so I think my legs are kind of woken up now. Put your concentration here. A good way to do that, the way that I was taught, two different ways actually. One will sound weird. Well, actually, they both sound weird, but they both work. The first one is you have the feeling that as you're doing things, you're being pulled by a thread from your hara. So when you move across the floor in Ido Geiko or in a kata, you pull the thread, and we're going to do that in a sec. The other one is you walk around. I don't do this, but it's a great way to feel it. You walk around as though you're seeing the world through your belly button. If you walk around like that, I'll do that in a sec as well. Let's do a little bit more here. Can you see how this area of the hara, the tanden, the Seika Tanden, or the tanden, can you see how fascinating it is and why it's so important to the martial arts? Nice and deep. Again, everywhere. From the second you walk into the dojo, you put your concentration here. So here, breathe in, bring it down to here now. Let the weight go underside. And you'll find that the structure will change. Okay. Shikobumi. Itch. Knee. Sun. Shape. Go. Go. Nice and deep, legs straight. Hold your toes, pull down the middle. And relax. Coming off arms, itch. Knee. San, hanta itch. Knee. San. Yoip. Migi san, chindachi yoip. Come on, tip. Moashi itch. Knee. San to the left. Sheep. Behind. Hook. Pitch. Down. Hard. Nore. Again. Think hara. Let the weight go underside. So when you go underside, when you're standing, what I find is a good way to do it is it's like you visualize your arms extending all the way to the ground. And for some of you guys, it might just do that. you extend the hands all the way down to the ground, so it's like you feel connected to the ground, like that. Okay, I'm going to do just 1/4 of the deck. I'm just going to quickly check the messages. No more messages. Great. Okay, let's do the quarter deck of cards. Let's see what they are. Okay, hope you're joining in. Now just watch. If you don't like the burpees, leave the burpees out. I do that sometimes. Okay, if you're not feeling good, leave all the burpees over 7 or over 8 out. Okay, but at least do your best with the push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. Okay, that's only if you're over 40 or 50. If you're under 40, smash the body. You have no excuses. Okay, first card. 6 clubs. Ich, ni, san, fi, lo, rock. Next one, better go quick. 9 clubs. Ich, ni, san, chi, lo, rock, ich, hutch, kill. Next one. King diamonds, 13 sit-ups. Let's go. Ich, ni, san, chi, lo, rock, ich, hutch, kill, kill, ich, ni, san. Next one. Whoa! Jack of hearts. 11 burpees. No hands getting up, please. Okay, let's go. 11. Let's. Then. Some. Sheep. Go. Look. Hitch. Hutch. Kill. Kill. Hitch. 11 burpees. Next one. 6 spades. 6 push-ups. Hitch. He. 1. He. Go. Look. 10 diamonds. 10 sit-ups. Hitch. He. Sun. He. Go. Look. Hitch. Touch. Kill. Kill. What's a king? Spades. Remember from here, if you go from here to push-ups, cross your feet, push forward, drop the legs back. Hitch. He. Sun. He. Go. Look. He. Ha. Kill. Kill. He. Me. Sun. Hey, Patty, I had a giggle when Nick was describing the noises of the morning training. I laughed my head off. He hit it to a T. Okay, Queen of hearts, 12 burpees. It's neat. Some. She. Go, young jump. Look. Touch. Touch. Jump. Jump. Touch. Me. Seven diamonds. Let's hit, come, hit, go, go, hitch. Oh, I should get it. Come up. Next one. Oh, more burpees. This time an easy one. 5 burpees. Let's go. Hitch. Deep. Sun. She. Go. Push. 5 clubs. 6 diamonds. She go yoke. 4 diamonds. Stay there. Hitch, ni, sun, she. Lucky last. 4 spades. That's a good way to finish, actually. Pretty easy. Hitch, ni, sun, she. Well done. Okay, let's go straight into a little bit of movement. And I want to talk about what I want to actually do for a few minutes, focusing on the Tanden. Okay. So, the Tanden, what we have is all the movement can be different. The punches, the kicks, the strikes, the blocks, the stances can be different. Zenkutsu, Kokutsu, Kibadachi. But the concentration point is the same. Okay. So what we need to practice here is the idea of breathing in. So when you breathe in, bring it up the spine. When you breathe out, drop it down to the hara. So let's do that. Breathe in. Feel the energy coming up the spine. As you breathe out, push it back down. Okay, push it back down. Breathe in. Okay, now we think here. Now, we're in Fudo-dachi. Now when we go into Yoi, Yoi is preparation. I want you to think of nothing more than as you breathe in here, as you breathe out, bring your attention to the hara. Ready? Don't bring attention to here. You'll see that all the time. Guys will go, as if, yeah, hit me. And you kick him in the groin. Okay? So we're going to relax, breathe in, and as you breathe out, concentrate the energy at the lower point. Bend the knees slightly, bite in the toes. Ready? Itch. Okay, so from that movement, you work around. You can even put your hand here. Okay? Put your hand. I want you to think soul size, Tanden flow from the feet through the hara. Lat, elbow, fist, weight behind the ring finger, but you strike with the foreknuckle. Okay, from there, feel the hara. And you can't see my legs. But what you can do is, if you've got healthy legs, as you come back, you move into Kokutsu and Zenkutsu. Kokutsu. Kokutsu. Remember, the technique is not the key. The concentration at the hara is what we're working on. Now we turn that into Enkekyaksuki. From here, let's keep the concentration. Go slow. That's why you do slow training. Make sure all the body parts in the right place at the right time with your concentration focused at the hara. Okay, from there, keep the concentration down as the arm comes up. How do you do that? You think of the weight underside. Don't think of the weight on the top of the arm to bring it around. Think of the weight heavy underneath the arm, and you'll find the relaxation is good. Now I move my hara and my concentration from my left leg to my right. Once again, think underside. Breathe in. Weight down. Concentrate here. Nice and easy. Around. Weight down. Around. Weight down. Transfer. Once again, now think all the movement is now as you're moving your hara from here to here. From here to here. It's neck. Son, heavy arm. Weight on the underside. See? Weight down. Weight down, heavy underside. Weight down, heavy underside. Okay, weight down all the time. We go from here now. Let's step in from here. Kokutsu dachi and shitomo ashuke. Okay, once again, let's transfer weight side to side from here. Weight back, kokutsu. Remember the weight goes underneath the arms. It's not, it's relaxed. Okay, push it through. Concentrating here. Push it through. Concentrating low. Concentrating low. I do this more than a lot of other stuff because of my bad knee. I can't do deep Zen Kutsudachi, so I'll do more of this, feeling the weight in the Kokutsudachi. Okay, weight low. Feel it. Feel the movement. Weight low. Feel the weight low. When your weight is low on the punch, you naturally bring your body weight to the ring finger. Even though you strike with the foreknuckle, the weight is behind the ring finger. From the hara, the feet, the hara, the lat, the elbow, the hand. Go slow. Start with the feet. The first two, I want you to think of nothing but the solidity in the structure of the legs. Just do 2 or 3, focusing on the legs. Now bring the focus to the hara. Remember I said about the idea of the golden thread? Well, as you punch, let that golden thread pull your arm in. Now, from hara to lat, what does the lat do? Pulls the arm in. Okay, so from hara to lat. And then from lat to elbow, think of the elbow. And from elbow to hand. So now your body weight is coming from the legs, up, from the legs, heavy on the hara. Switch sides. Again, if you do it, the first one on the feet, second one in the hara, third one in the lat, fourth one in the elbow, fifth one in the hand behind the ring finger. Okay, now to finish off, what I want to do is simply work the idea of being pulled by a thread from your hara. I ran 10 marathons in my life. I would have loved to have done more, but 10 was enough for any idiot. And I did 9 of them in my gi. Would you believe? That got some funny reactions. But anyway, I used to run and I'd visualize myself being pulled along by this elastic band extending from my belly button. Especially you get tired, I'd see something up that, might be a point a few kilometers up, like a tower or at the end of a bridge or something. And I just run with the feel that I've been pulled along. So now I want you to feel, move. I want you to do any movement. We start with yoi. Okay, I'll get in so you can see me. Now I want you to do any movement. That's just for the sake of it. Do middle punch, or you can do blocks. Do blocks. Do blocks. Shuto. Back fist. Koken. Uchi koken. Okay? Shuto, damme uchi. Sakotsu uchi. Uchi komi. Any of the basics. But as you do it now, I want you to think less of the technique and more of having the weight underside settling at the lower tanden. So, for example, I'm going to do shito hizouchi. As I do it, I want to concentrate on weight underside the arm, weight underside my tanden. It's meat, sun, sheep. And there's an interesting byproduct of that. When you concentrate at the lower point in the abdomen and you concentrate your weight below, there's less wavering because the power is coming from the structure through the tanden, not from the muscular tension. So if you think, experiment for yourself. I want you to think for a sec and bring the energy up to your chest. Try and use the chest to move the arms as quick as you can. Okay, your hand tends to go boom, 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 boom. See, like that, bum, bum. Okay, now I want you to do it. I want you to think power through the lower abdomen and dropping the weight underside. And what happens to the hand now, instead of, because the weight's on top, the hand wavers, now what happens is it stops. You extend the energy. So now there's a third principle. Keep the weight underside, concentrate on the point, and extend your energy through the hand. It's like your hand is a fire hose, and that water is coming out the fire hose. Wait, concentration here. You can't think of more than one place at once, but that's the beauty. If you think weight underside, or weight extended, or weight in the hara, the outcome is the same. Isn't that amazing? Okay? Okay, punches if you like. Weight here. Weight here. Down. Heavy. Extend your energy. So now when you punch, see the energy continuing on infinitely. Like that. Okie doke. So there you have it. This concept of Tanden, Seika Tanden, single point in the lower abdomen. It's centrally key to martial arts training, but it's also one of the most neglected concepts in martial arts, simply because, well, in some respects, there's probably no scientific explanation. In other respects, there is, like Rudd said, it corresponds to the center of gravity in the body. So there is some science behind it. How, by concentrating down there, it affects it, I'm not 100% sure either. But sometimes you don't have to be 100% sure of the principle to get the benefit. So if you concentrate and train with that idea, 1, keep the concentration at the single point in the lower abdomen. 2, keep the weight underside. Okay? And 3, when you throw a technique, you extend your energy out that technique. This becomes really, really evident in self-defense when you have to deal, for example, in tensho kata, when you're doing tensho and this movement, this idea of coming here, look, you do this tensho movement, bang, boom, all this tensho movement with the weight underside. It's very different. You'll see guys who have the weight upside and this becomes the movement. Okay? And superficially, it may appear identical. Well, to someone with an eye, it doesn't appear identical. But then you transfer this into weight down, and everything changes dramatically. And that becomes a very powerful point. For beginners, it's not such a major thing. All beginners need to do is think in terms of structural support shape. So in other words, think about using the bones rather than the muscles. In my dojo, we call this Archimedes trumps Newton. So when you're trying to do something, you know, you're using the push-pull principle. Someone's attacked, you block the punch. You want to pull them in as you strike, or pull them in as you strike. Okay? I'm using leverage. Well, Archimedes is the man of leverage. Newton is the man of muscle. He's the man of mechanical efficiency. Okay? So we say Archimedes trumps Newton every time, because if you can use leverage, it doesn't matter how much muscle you apply, you'll never get the same degree of impact as you will with good leverage. And leverage can be something as simple as changing your angle 5 degrees. Boom, 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 boom. It's that simple. Okay, so there you have it. That's my viewpoint on Tanden, Seika Tanden. And I just thought I'd share that with you today. I hope it's beneficial. That's all I can ever hope for. Us. Thanks, Raj. Dhanyabad. Thanks, buddy. It's always a pleasure to have you all the way from Nepal. If you got any questions, let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've found that over the years I can strike better if I'm relaxed. Yeah, I think you're probably right, Harry, because they say relaxation comes from speed. From a scientific viewpoint, all you're simply doing is relaxing the antagonistic muscles. So if you're tense and you throw a punch, the biceps tense just as much as the tricep. But you want the bicep relaxed so there's no pulling back of the arm. The bicep bends. So in that respect, yeah, definitely relaxation helps us. Yeah, good on you, Mike. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming all the way from Western Australia. Sorry you're late, but those students that pay the bills have got to take precedence by all means. Rochelle, good on you. Thanks. And like I said, I haven't quite got an answer that I'm satisfied with, but boy, oh boy, I'm getting close, Rochelle, when I talk about the kokken. I'm really starting to get a feel of where I'm going with it. Rob, I hope you enjoy that, buddy. Rob's from Tassie. Good on you, Rob. I don't know if I mentioned my family's from Tassie. Us, Daniel, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, if you can ever come and visit, but remind me next time I see you, Daniel, when I'm down for a seminar. I've got another seminar lined up with the Newcastle Karate Club there. It was meant to be in July. It may be postponed, but whenever it is on, by all means, come along and we'll talk about it there. It may not be something that you want to share in a seminar because it's just a little bit too esoteric for people. Us, yes, Frederick, I think when you feel the what I call the three concaves, and when you can get a feel of the perineal lock, which in yoga is mula bandha. Mula bandha is, if I put that in, you may be able to look it up actually. Oh, I've left out a D. Look up that. That'll give you more on it, Frederick. But you look up the mula bandha for my Patreon family. I'll send out a little bit of information about understanding the perineal lock and how it can really improve your spinal structure, and how it can save your posture as time goes by very much. Us, Gaz, always a pleasure to have you. I hope everything's going well down the mountain. We'll see you again. Thank you, everybody. I hope you found that helpful. Us. Yep. Well, good on you, Mike. That's great. I'm the same. This dojo's in my house as well. I do have a separate dojo as well, but I'm leaving that in the capable hands of young Ben Ajamian at the moment. Us. Oh, Graham, good to see you, buddy. It's always an honor and a pleasure to have you, but I hope you got something out of that. For people, and I'm not saying this is you, Graham, I was about to say it before I saw your name, for people whose focus has always been tournament training, well then, thanks, Mel. Then this is something which is really wonderful to look at over 40 as well, because now all of a sudden that focus down here, there's a flip side to it as well, and that's not for this session to discuss. But anyway, getting a feel of that, I was about to say bandha, getting a feel of that Seika Tanden, Seika below the belly button, Tanden, that field of energy or that field of consciousness. In Japanese, it's also called the this is interesting, I didn't mention. It's also called the magokoro. I'll write that because anyone who's interested in Japanese can look it up. Let me type it in Japanese. Magokoro. Oops, didn't type in. Hang on, here we go. Magokoro. There you go. Look that up. That first character, ma, is also shin of Kyokushin, so it means truth or true. And kokoro is kokoro or mind. Okay, so that the hara is also called the magokoro in Japanese, which means the real mind, the real spirit, they say, is found at that lower point. So that's a really interesting thing too that I forgot to mention earlier on. Thanks, guys. It's great. I really appreciate your loyalty. Don't forget to click, join, and share. Above all, please just copy that link and share it to people, and that makes a world of difference, because the more we know, the better. You know, if I could get 500 people watching these things, I'd be excited. Okay, and that can only happen through sharing. Also, don't forget Patreon. I look at the names here and I see so many of my Patreon family, and I appreciate you, because that means you appreciate what I'm giving you. Okay, and so if you really enjoy it, and if you really think you're getting something out of it, then by all means go along to Patreon and share the love. And I've got some great stuff coming up for the Patreon family too, including a new series of emails that I'm going to be sending out to you soon. Okay, Us, everyone, appreciate it. Thank you very much. See you Wednesday.